Monster Militia is an auto-battling roguelike strategy game with a rather unique twist. You start the game out with a group of civilians. After every turn, you get attacked by whatever monster you're in battle with. Once that monster attacks you, you then get to choose one new unit to add to your Monster Militia. You can mix and match, have beasts, monsters, humans, plants, terrain, traps, items, whatever you want. You just pick it and you add it to your army. Each monster, for lack of a better term, has different abilities that go along with it. If you choose a soldier and they get adjacent to a human, then that human will be trained to be a soldier. If you choose a certain type of monster and they're adjacent to a human, they can turn that human into a ghost. They can kill them off. They can transform them into a were-dragon. They can do a multitude of things, and you have to plan a strategy accordingly. The monster you have to choose from after every turn is randomized, and you get one reroll if you don't like your first choices. Once you use that reroll, you're stuck with your next, or you can skip them, and then the next turn you can do the same thing over and over again until you're finally pleased. But you need to continuously build up your army because some of them can get destroyed every turn. They're not going to be around forever. Some monsters can actually destroy your other monsters in order to make the ones that destroyed them stronger, whereas other ones can boost the abilities of monsters in order to make them stronger. So there's a lot that you need to mix and you need to match with. There's a lot of different strategies that you can employ, tactics that you can try out, and ways that you can win. I made it to 11 out of 12 bosses in the demo that was provided, and I have to say each boss actually has quite the personality when it comes to lore. You get a description before each boss with the name and the reason for its existence, and there's some pretty funny ones, like there's one called Bernie Sanders. It's a flame monster. It's pretty funny. I liked it, okay? That's my kind of humor. But there's a lot of that in there too, so if that's something that you enjoy, you're gonna have fun with that. The monsters can have different abilities. Some of them can destroy your monsters, others can only attack you every turn. I never really had much of a problem with it. They didn't seem to really differ that much in this build that I got, so I can't really comment on that one way or the other. I will say that whenever you're making your build, you need to have prior experience, so this is going to actually require more than one playthrough to get farther and farther. Whenever I played through it the first time, I didn't make it, to the 8th boss maybe? And then I was pretty much screwed because I made some pretty awful decisions. But on my second playthrough, that's where I've made it to the 11 out of 12 bosses, because I learned how some of the units will react to one another. I know that just because this unit seems like it would be powerful, it has a lot of drawbacks and it's not worth using. And that is something you have to be open to learning as you play the game. You have to be open to multiple replays in order to learn each unit, and even on the other replay, you're going to get units you've never used before, so there is a risk-reward factor to whether or not you take the chance. I took the chances far more than I probably should, even after I had a strategy already formulated in my head where I was going to use a multitude of humans that balance each other out, as well as ones that make books to make other humans stronger. That was my plan, that was my end goal, and I did that for maybe 9 bosses and it was going swimmingly. But then I got a portal to hell and I was like, dang, I want to use that and see what that thing does. It spawns hellhounds, which are nice, but I got overloaded with hellhounds, and then whenever I put beast hunters down there to try to mitigate that, I just wasn't doing the amount of damage that I needed in order to take out the rest of the bosses. I made it to 10, I had to use my Mayday button, where the Mayday button, you immediately do 10 times the damage of whatever your last attack was, and I used that to take out the 10th boss and make it to the 11th, and then because I was so weak I couldn't take out the 10th boss, so the 11th boss obviously wasn't going to be a cakewalk. But the reason I decided to risk it for the biscuit and use some creatures that went outside of my strategy just to see if I could implement them in any way, shape, or form is because they have rarities. Common and uncommon seem to pop up at the same frequency, which doesn't make much sense, but we're gonna roll with it anyway, no complaints here. Rare, on the other hand, I rarely ever see it. So whenever I get a rare monster pop up and I'm like, dang, I've never used that one before, even if it goes entirely against the rest of my strategy and against the rest of my militia in general, I still take the chance to use it. You don't get many chances to use rare creatures, so if you have even one, it is definitely worth a shot. Another thing I've noticed is whenever you have the chance to get things like scrap metal and stuff, it's worth getting because there are some that can turn that into something else and others that can use that metal to build things, that kind of stuff. It is a very risky strategy though. I haven't made it very far in doing so because you never really get everything you need due to the randomized nature of it. It kinda seems like it can be against you at points, but if it can be rewarding, I think it can really be a really good strategy. But it's just one of the drawbacks of there being such a random aspect to it. Whether you choose monsters and beasts like the baddies in Castlevania, or you decide you want the humans to prevail, there's an element of strategy and a way to play for basically everyone. There's also humor when it comes to the Monster Militia as well, not just the bosses. Like the monster hunters or the beast hunters, they're freaking cheerleaders instead of like, I don't know, something you would expect. And there's a few times where something like that would happen, like hellhounds are just normal dogs, and that's pretty funny, okay? I know it kinda hurts the immersion or whatever, but freaking heck, that's hilarious. I really like that. When it comes to the designs of the actual monsters that they actually put effort into though, I think they're really good. The ones that aren't humorous, that are actually supposed to be intimidating in some regard, they look that way. They're something I wouldn't want to encounter in real life, so I can give them a lot of points for that. Overall, if you know what you're getting into, I think you might enjoy this game. If this is something that looks like or sounds like it's for you, I recommend you going out of your way and giving it a shot. But if you don't like strategy games or top-down games or games that are on a board grid or games where you can't really control where each of your creatures are placed because that is randomized as well, if you don't like auto battlers and stuff, then this isn't really going to be up your alley. But if there's anything that you like out of the genres that are all shoved into one here, it's definitely worth at least checking out the demo, giving it a look, seeing if it's up your alley. Because there's a lot of heart and a lot of fun implemented into this game that you wouldn't necessarily see by looking at it at face value. It's a game that I'm going to be coming back to quite often just to see what I can do next, but I really wish I had the full version so I could do a achievement breakdown for you guys, but alas, I don't. Anyway, if I ever end up buying it, I'll let you know. Thank you for the review key either way. I appreciate you, and I appreciate everyone that made it this far. Thank you so much. For more news, reviews, and whatever we choose, stay tuned to Nerdsfeed. And have a great day. You seriously earned it.